All right, today we're going to break down a pretty wild real-world economic experiment. It's a story that has some major lessons for the rest of the world. A story about a president, a central bank, and a very, very unconventional idea.
And really, it all boils down to this one big question. What actually happens when a political leader decides to basically declare war on, well, on how economics is supposed to work? This isn't some classroom debate, folks. This is what went down when a country's leader challenged a core principle of modern economics. And the results? Well, they were explosive, to say the least.
So, at the very heart of this story is a single, pretty radical idea about how you're supposed to fight inflation. It's an idea that completely flips mainstream economics on its head. I mean, it goes against pretty much everything you'd find in a standard textbook. Okay, so here's the fundamental disagreement. For decades, the orthodox view, the playbook pretty much the whole world uses, says that when prices are rising too fast, you raise interest rates. It's like tapping the brakes on the economy to cool things down. But Turkey's President Erdoğan believed the exact opposite. He argued that high interest rates are what cause inflation, so to bring it down, you have to cut them. And this wasn't just a theory he had, he was determined to put it into practice.
And just like that, the experiment was on. But here's the catch. To pull off a plan this radical, you absolutely need your central bank to be on board. So, what happens when they're not? Well, you fire the firefighters. And what followed was basically a revolving door at the top of the central bank. I mean, look at this. 3 different governors were fired in just over 2 years. And the reason why they were let go is the key here. It wasn't because they were bad at their jobs. It was because they tried to do their jobs the conventional way, by raising interest rates. Each one was shown the door for resisting the president's unorthodox policy. And, well, this chart tells the whole story of what happened next. As the new, more compliant governors started slashing interest rates, that's the blue line you see just diving down, take a look at what happened to inflation, the red line. It didn't fall. It went ballistic. It skyrocketed, eventually soaring past 80%. The unorthodox theory was having the exact opposite effect it was supposed to.
So by the middle of 2023, it was painfully obvious the experiment had failed. The economy was in a deep, deep crisis, and something had to change. This forced a massive, and I'm sure reluctant U-turn back toward the very economic ideas that they had so forcefully thrown out. With the currency in a freefall and inflation totally out of control, a new, more traditional economic team was brought in. Their mission was simple on paper, but incredibly difficult in reality: clean up the mess and try to restore some stability and credibility to Turkey's economy. So let's go back to that chart, but let's focus on the right side now. The new team did exactly what the previous governors were fired for doing. You see that blue line? It shoots straight up as they hiked interest rates aggressively. And what happened to the red line, inflation? Well, after a bit of a lag, it finally peaked and then started to come down. The firefighters were back, and this time they were using the orthodox tools.
But you can't just reverse a policy like that and expect everything to be fixed instantly. The years spent fighting the central bank came at a huge cost to the country, its economy, and its people. So what was the final price tag on this experiment?
The damage was severe, and it was widespread. The Turkish currency, the lira, completely collapsed. Borrowing money became incredibly expensive for businesses, for the government, for everyone. But maybe the most damaging thing of all was the loss of credibility on the world stage. Regaining that kind of trust, according to our source material, could take decades to repair. And this all brings us to the ultimate lesson of this whole cautionary tale, and it's captured perfectly right here. Strongmen can fire central bankers. They can't fire bond markets. A political leader might have the power to dismiss individuals, but what they can't dismiss are the fundamental realities of the global financial system. In the end, the markets will always have the final say.